Hey, everybody. Give me a quick comment on the stream if you can hear me and see me, because I have no way of testing that on my end without being incredibly distracting to the live stream. So I'm going to go ahead and get started and start chatting just about the basics and what we're going to talk about today. So local SEO, if you see the little piece below, that is not just search engine optimization, but is actually talking about local. So if you're a small business owner who wants people to find them when they search on their phone and say, barbershop near me, or grocery store near me, or any other local store that services a very specific market, that's your local SEO, and that's where this talk is going to become beneficial. It's also helpful for companies. It's Jennifer and Joseph. Awesome. Thank you for confirming that you can see and hear me. The local SEO will also be beneficial for companies that serve a national or international audience, as we do, but it really benefits you for people that are around you looking for your services. So as an example for us, if we're trying to rank for advertising agency, if somebody is in New York searching for an advertising agency, we're probably never going to show up, right? Because we don't have an office in New York, and we're not as big as some of the agencies in New York. Not going to happen. So it is a very local centric, but doesn't mean you can't serve. You can't be a business that serves nationally. It's just going to be very effective for you, for the people around you. So I want to pull up a slideshow we've got going on. We're going to try this. Cool. And we're going to get rid of that guy flying solo, trying to do this on my own today. So let's yeah, that should be good. Okay. So just want to go through a few of the overview, if you will, of local SEO, right? So as I mentioned, everybody's in an online world. So everybody, practically speaking, pretty much everybody has access to the internet, generally speaking, and everybody's online doing something. If you look around while you're out and about, 90% of the time, you're going to see somebody on their phone around you. If you're driving on the road, hopefully not as many people, but that happens too. We're going to focus on people who are doing searches. So in years past, people used to trust, they would trust more what they had heard, or maybe the newspaper, or yellow page ads, or all kinds of other sources of information to judge whether or not somebody's going to use a business that's around them. Word of mouth is still huge, but a lot of that is translated not to just, hey, I trust this person, but it needs to be something somebody would say publicly, not just one-to-one, but they would actually post that somewhere. So that would be, Google My Business or Facebook recommendations, things like that. We've shifted drastically in the last 5 to 10 years. A lot of that has shifted, and we're now everybody's focused on doing a quick Google search, generally speaking, and they get a result, and it's either going to be Google Maps listing at the very top, or maybe an actual regular search engine results. But that's all local SEO if you're looking for a specific good or service that's available near you, or especially if you put that search qualifier of near me or around me. People are now ready to purchase their product. So I said barbershop earlier. If somebody's looking for a barber, they're not wanting somebody to sell them their barber services. They are looking for a barber, right? They don't have to be convinced they need their haircut, especially after all this is over. Everybody's going to need a haircut, and they're going to know that they're already ready to buy, and they need to find the right person to connect with. And reviews will help with that. Your ranking on those search results will help with that. Advertising might, but we're focusing on organic traffic at this point, so we're gonna jump over that for now. But trust is built through those recommendations and reviews. So let's jump over to our next slide. If you have comments or questions, feel free to put those in as we're chatting. I can pull those up and display them at the bottom of the ticker, and we can discuss them if it's something relevant. Do stick around. I think I mentioned it in the text of the post, but stick around towards the end. We have a free offer for people for a free SEO report for your business if you want to do that. So do stick around so we can give that link out. All right, so online is driving offline sales as well. So we talked about the barber. I don't want to keep going back to that, probably because I just trimmed my beard for this live stream, but your local barber can benefit greatly from local SEO, even though they can't sell something to somebody online necessarily. They might be able to sell supplies, so beard oil, beard wax, actual razors if they sell safety razors, or something along those lines. They could sell supplementary, high profit margin, hopefully, products. But their actual services, unless you're a mobile barber, you're not going to sell that online necessarily. Somebody's going to come into your door, and that actually, it's still benefited from local SEO, especially with maps. So if you think about trying to find a potential new partner, you're going to go work with a business, and you're like, oh, cool, let's meet up. I'll meet you at your office. And they don't, if they don't give you specific instructions via an email or something along those lines, you're probably going to pull up your phone, type in their name, and pull up Google Maps, Apple Maps, or some other directory that can give you directions to get to their house or their place of business, rather. So some stats real quick. Bright Local says 97% of consumers search online to find a local business. ComScore says 78% of mobile local searches result in offline purchases. So, think grocery store, barber, maybe a niche product place like health food store or something like that. And then local consumer reviews, so 64% of consumers say that they check online reviews on Google before visiting a business. And I touched on that earlier, but that's not just Google. That could be Facebook or Yelp or some of the other online directory services. All right, so high-performing local businesses are ahead of the curve. So if you already have an online listing, bravo, like you've jumped ahead of that curve some. If you don't have one, you need to start worrying about that now before everything opens back up. And if you're watching this after the fact, it's never too late to start unless you start tomorrow. Then tomorrow's always too late. You should always start today. So there's a report from a few years ago that says SMBs, small and medium-sized businesses that are making the most use of online are 2.8 times more likely to enjoy revenue growth than those who are not. And that's just stating that you've got to be online because there's so many people searching online. We're just going to keep hitting those topics a little bit. Failure to adapt is no longer an option. And there's some stats from, I think, 2018. If I remember correctly, it's 70% of local businesses fail by their 10th year of business. And that doesn't directly correlate to local SEO, except our tagline at Bluefish here is, we help small and medium businesses overcome obscurity because people can't buy from you if they don't know you exist. And 90% earlier, 90% of people are going to search online before they buy something. So if they search online, you don't exist, they can't buy from you. Therefore, you're more likely to fail before your 10th year. One of the things we're doing through SEO and now local SEO is that we're helping local businesses future-proof themselves by generating more leads through Google. And you can show some of those stats through reporting through Google My Business. So an example is You Save Dentistry. We started working with them a little over a year ago, and they were wanting to increase their inbound calls and inbound leads, and also just let more people know that they exist as a dentistry. So year over year comparison, I think it was January to January, so 2019 to 2020, we increased their calls by about 40%. I think it was on Mondays is the day I was looking at. And then we increased their overall discoverability, meaning the number of times people searched and found them, whether it was through regular search results or Google My Business listings or a bunch of other places. We increased their discoverability by about 92%. So, if they had 100 views on January of 2019, they had 192 views. Those aren't the numbers, but just keep math simple. They had 192 in 2020. And the really cool one is this last one on Google Maps. Their increase in views on Google Maps was up 479%. So if you look at the stats, it actually said, hey, you have 579% more traffic or views rather on Google Maps than you did last year. And that wasn't, that one specifically wasn't a small, like, oh, they had one view and then they had, 500 views. It was like they had 268 views in that month. And then this last January, they had 2,600 or something along those lines. So it was a huge growth in discoverability, which is one of the situations that they were trying to fix. So all of this is done through local SEO. We talked about that earlier. Again, it's not just Google, but we're hitting on that pretty hard because that's what most people use for their search engine. Let's dive into the reason Google has gotten popular. So in years past, Google focused on keywords, and keywords are still important, but not for the reasons that it used to be. Back a decade ago, keywords where you could stuff them. So literally just put the same keyword a bunch of times in your copy or on your post or whatever it was, and Google would find that and go, sweet, this is relevant. They mentioned, advertising agency 30 times in their one post. They must be an advertising agency. Now they're worried about getting people the results they want. And there's a bunch of different stats. We don't technically know everything that Google uses for that because it's a proprietary algorithm and that's how they make their money. But they look for different metrics that show whether or not your content is relevant to the person viewing it. So one of those things, the example I usually give people, because it's an easy one to measure internally, would be your bounce rate. So if somebody goes on the page, stays there for 5 seconds and then bounces and hits the back button and goes somewhere else, Google sees that as not relevant. The timing can change depending on the content you're presenting, but bounce rate can be important. But they want to look for usefulness as a best result rather than just keyword stuffing. Now for Google My Business specifically, so they've got 3 main pieces, and that's proximity, relevance, and prominence. So proximity, pretty straightforward. That's how close you are. And I mentioned this at the very top of the video. If we were trying to rank for advertising agency and somebody's in New York, we are never showing up. And that's because of proximity, right? Proximity, we're not close enough. So that one here, if you're a lawyer based in Chicago and somebody searches for lawyers in Manhattan, you're never going to show up. I gave that example earlier, but it's proximity, pretty straightforward. Relevance, so that's your search terms. So that's going to be things, somebody's looking for a barber and you're listed as a barber, you have a better chance. But if you are a salon and somebody's looking for a barber, you may not show up. Or if you're an advertising agency and somebody searches for barber, I ain't gonna help you. Like it's relevance, right? And then the last one is the one you have more control over. Let me step back. Relevance, you have some control over by making sure your content is useful and has the appropriate tags. We can go over that later, but you want to make sure your business is listed as the type of business and the categories and all of that is accurate so that you can be as relevant as possible to the person's search. But there's only so much control you have there, right? On prominence, this is where you can actually make the most impact. So this is your authority, or how authoritative you are. Thanks, Joseph. So things like your reviews, you want to make sure people are reviewing you publicly, not just sending you an email that says, hey, you did a great job, thanks. Send them to your Google My Business listing, send them to your Facebook page, ask them to recommend you or give you a rating. If you're in a very specific a niche category like a lawyer, there are specific lawyer directories that you want people to go to and recommend you in that specific category, because that might have a better it's going to potentially have a bigger impact on your prominence than if it's just a Google My Business listing, because somebody's going to look for lawyers. They go in that lawyer directory. It can benefit you a little bit more. Every industry is a little different, but if you start with the big ones, Google, Facebook, and all those. You know what? I'm pulling that up. Marcus reminds us, if you like this presentation, we'd love a positive review on Facebook or on Google My Business. Yeah. So prominence, you want to make sure that you have lots of reviews, but then also your links back to your profile, Google My Business and Facebook, also lead back to your website, which then has links from other places, which all helps build your authority. Let's jump into the next slide. All right, so you have two different sections of search results. So this is, we talked about earlier, Google Maps versus regular results. These are your map results here. So this is an example from, I remember what city this is in. Yeah, it's Manhattan again. So I don't know if you guys can read this. I'm going to go full screen and try to help you read that a little better. All right, so number one signal is your Google My Business signaling. That's 25% of your ranking, according to a study that Google doesn't get this out, but there's a third-party company that studied it and tried to figure out across all of their clients what the percentages were. So take these with a grain of salt, but generally speaking, your Google My Business signal is one of the top factors. Link signaling, so that's your inbound anchor links, your domain authority, and your domain quality or quantity rather for your links to your website is another 16%. Review signals, 15%. On-page signals, presence of NAP. If you've seen the video Marcus put out a few weeks ago, that's name, address, phone number, making sure that's present and accurately tagged on your website. Keywords in your titles, domain authority, that's another 13%. And then citation, that's things like other directories. And that's looking for NAP consistency and the volume of citation. So if you are only listed on Google and on Facebook, that's not as helpful as if you're listed on Google, Facebook, Yellow Pages, Yelp, Foursquare, and the Better Business Bureau website, and all of those, they all help increase. And that's roughly a 10%, or sorry, 9.5% relevance for this ranking. And then social signals. And believe it or not, this last one, it only says 2.8%. But if you have a highly competitive, if you're in a highly competitive niche, then that 2% may make a huge difference. So make sure you're staying active on those social media platforms and not letting that go by the wayside. I mean, we have a phone in our pocket. If you're seeing this, you have access to the internet. Hopefully you have a cell phone. Take photos of you at the office, post pictures, post videos, do everything you can to stay active on social media, especially in competitive markets, because that last little 2% could make the difference between you showing up for somebody's search results and not. It could be that little bit that you need. So don't ignore that just because it's a small percentage. All right, let's jump over. This is the bottom half. I'm going to go full screen again so it's a little easier to see. And this is your organic ranking. And this is for not necessarily maps specific, but you'll notice it's websites. And we're still talking about local SEO here because the search results the search term was lawyer in Manhattan, right? So even though it's not Google My Business, your website still plays a role in that. So link signals, that's your inbound anchor text. Some of this is kind of nitty gritty, but it's your inbound links coming to your site is more than or almost a third of your ranking factor. So make sure you're building authoritative links from sites that are trustworthy. Don't just get spam links. On-page signals, so presence of NAP, again, name, address, phone number. We're talking about local search, so people need to know your phone number, know your address, and make sure the name matches. Keywords and titles, domain authority is still helpful, but that's another 26%. We're over 50% at this point, right? So if two things are factoring in for more than 50% of this, and it's all, it's website local related stuff. Behavioral signals, so that's click-through rate, mobile clicks to call and check-ins. That's, I mentioned earlier, your click-through rate and your bounce rate. Both of those are involved there. Google My Business signals. So now we're getting into your profile somewhere else outside of your website. So we're getting into that Google My Business piece. Your proximity, again, is going to help categories, keywords, and business title. And the next, that's 8%. You can read this if you're pausing the video, but citation signals are next with 8%. Personalization is another 7%. Review signals, again, coming in handy with reviews, and then social signals, again, being active. And that's all affecting your search results with your business website. All right, so we're going to jump over into a little bit of detail. I think we just talked about this, right? But this is getting into some of those details. We've got 25% of your signal is Google My Business. This you want to make sure is accurate. So it's not that you just have to have one. You want it to be as accurate as possible. So if you have a category, advertising agency, make sure it's listed in that Google My Business listing. Make sure your address is the same as the address on your website. Make sure that your phone number is accurate. Make sure the name matches everywhere else. If you've changed names or you've altered it, or you've shortened it, or whatever it is, you went through a merger, make sure all that stuff matches. Otherwise Google can't confirm that those entities are related. That gives less signaling juice. So make sure that's optimized and done that. If you need help optimizing it, we'll talk about that later. Link signals, 16%. These are links from your websites, from other websites. So as a local business, you want to start working to get your website linked to from other quality websites. There are some old tactics that used to exist that would work where people just go and spam links on random pages and get those created. Those you can those aren't necessarily going to hurt you, but they're not going to help you. Google's not going to say exactly how they treat those links, but they've repeatedly said that those types of links do not help. If the website doesn't have any authority, it doesn't give you any juice. It doesn't help you any. Now, review signals are 15%. Again, reviews, it's actually pretty easy for a lot of these places to get reviews. Google specifically, they give you a URL. You can send somebody an email and it goes to the profile and pops up a little modal window that says, hey, leave us a review. Like you take all the guesswork out. If you need help finding that, shoot us an email. We're happy to help you figure that out so you can get more reviews. Make sure they're actual reviews though, right? Like don't spam your friends to say, hey, review my business. I mean, if they've used you, then yes, but don't pay for reviews or anything like that. They want them to be, you want them to be accurate reviews, not just random spam stuff. And then reply to people. Like if somebody leaves you a great review, reply and say, hey, thanks for the review. I'm glad you enjoyed the service. Or if it's a negative one, reply back. A big tip that people always ask us is if somebody leaves a horrible review, like we hate this company. We had a horrible experience. Nobody should ever work with these people. Reply back and point them to bring that conversation offline and, say, hey, give us a call, shoot us an email, whatever it is, but get in touch with us. We want to make it right or try to make it right. And that way you're showing other people who are reading those reviews, because that's, 90% of people are going on and reading those before they make a decision. They're showing that you have some compassion and you care about your clients. You're not just ignoring the people that you've made mad. I wouldn't fight with them in public, even if no matter how wrong you might think they are, don't fight with them. Just say, hey, shoot us an email, give us a call. We'd love to take care of this, or you try to make it better, and then leave it at that. If they keep berating you, keep responding back with that one a couple times, and eventually just leave it alone. That may change if people ever let us edit reviews, but that becomes a problem. So they don't let us do that. On-page signals, so that's stuff on your website. Again, this isn't just Google My Business. It is still local, but you want your signals on your site, your website, to be relevant to your local search. So you want to make sure that the content on your page talks about the categories that you're trying to rank for. You want to make sure if you're using images, use title tags that have those pieces in there. All of your content should point back to the keywords that you're trying to rank for. And citation signals, we talked about those earlier. It's name, address, phone number. Make sure it's accurate in all of the directories. And there are hundreds, if not thousands of those. If you need help figuring out if you're on them, stick around. We've got a way to help you there. Let's see if I can advance. It's not going to let me advance. Ooh, live demo fail. I can't go to the next slide for some reason. So hold on. Let me see if I can fix that. Actually, no, that was the end of the slideshow. I was just kidding. So let's open up some questions. If anybody has any questions about what we just went through, we're going to try and keep it brief. If you have like really in-depth conversations, shoot us an email at hi@bluefishds.com. We'll start that conversation. But I do, everybody who's stuck around, I don't want to keep this going any longer than it needs to be, because this was supposed to be pretty short. I do want to put a link up here for everybody to look at. Local report. All right, so this should be accurate. If you will head there, literally, this is not going to cost you a penny. We're doing this to help out our local businesses. If you'll go there and fill out your business name and the related NAP information, so name, address, phone number, put in an email address, we'll send you a report that shows you where you're at right now. It's not going to be necessarily tips, but we can help you with that. But it would let you know where you are and give you some feedback about what your business looks like currently. Happy to send those out. If you go fill it out, it'll automatically email it to you when it's ready. But want to open up for questions, literally comment them below and I can pop them up and respond. We'll give it a few minutes and hang out here for a few more minutes and wait for those. Otherwise, I want everybody to have a great day. I don't want to waste your time here. So let's see. I'm trying to think if there's anything else that I did not talk about yet. Nope, I think I covered everything. So here, let's do an example. I got the approval from Marcus earlier to do this. So as an example for us, we've done websites since 2008, right? So we rank really easily for website designs. So that's not a big deal. We've been doing that for over a decade. We can rank for that. About 3 years ago, we started dabbling into advertising, right? So we'd done a little bit, and we started pushing a little harder. And the last year, we've pushed a lot further into this market. And if I can do a live, we're going to try something live and see what happens. Thank you, Marcus. He put that link in the comments. All right, so I'm not going to do any trickery here. I'm going to do this live. I'm going to share my screen incognito, if you guys are familiar with what that is. So on Chrome, for example, you can go incognito, which means it doesn't store or use your personal information to skew your results or personalize your results. So we've got this sign in piece. I'm not logged in. It's incognito. If we do advertising agency, Mobile, Alabama. All right. So we started doing advertising about 3 years ago. We started dabbling. 1 year ago, we started pushing pretty hard. We're the top result in the organic search results over any agency in the area for our site. So we know what we're doing for SEO, right? So local SEO, we're still working on. We're actually number 4 for an organic SEO. We're not paying for an ad, but we're number 4. If you see some of these other agencies, they're great agencies. They've been here for a long time, and in the last 2 years, we've ranked up to number 4. So it takes some time, but you've got to put in some work, and you can actually start improving that score through your local SEO. So we've updated our Google My Business listings, updated our Facebook page, listed ourselves on all the other directories, and made sure that people know that we are an advertising agency in Mobile that would love to help people out. So again, if you're watching this live, ask a question. If not, send us an email, hi@bluefishds.com. Or head over to bluefishds.com/local-SEO-report and get your free report there. But appreciate everybody who tuned in and checked it out. If you have any questions, shoot us an email, put a comment below. We'll try to answer those later, and have a great rest of the day.